Chapter 1, written by the author. No, I won't have him. I don't even want to see him. Damn it, Darwin. I want you to keep doing it. No one else. Stefan wasn't eavesdropping on purpose. It was just the voice on the other side of the office door was exceptionally loud. Whether he was meant to hear or not, the outcome was the same. He'd heard, and his heart sank. Letting out a sigh, Stefan bent to pick up his bag when he heard another voice say, "You've got no choice, Lucy. You know the council rules. I'm mated now. I can't anchor for you and my mate, and now we've claimed each other, it's impossible for my mate to have any other anchor but me. It's the way things are, Lucy. You'll just have to accept it." Stefan recognised the second speaker. It was the man who'd called him in for the interview in the first place. One would have assumed he would have cleared it with his boss first. And then something else clicked. Lucy? That's the gruffest sounding Lucy I've ever heard. Now Stefan was intrigued, and he settled back in his chair. He'd undoubtedly be kicked out soon enough, but he hadn't had any entertainment for a while, and the chair was comfortable enough. "I told you to stop calling me that." The first voice sounded even gruffer now. "There isn't a better anchor than you, and you know it. Do you want me working for someone second rate? Why the hell did you have to claim your mate anyway? Things were working fine as they were. You anchored for me during working hours, which was all the hours under the sun and beyond when it came to working with you." Darwin raised his voice. 6 months I waited for you to get your act together. 6 months of barely seeing Monty awake. I got the silent treatment from him every time you called telling me we had another case and I had to leave him. Well, no more. What's done is done, and I'm not sorry. Brother or not, I deserved better from you, and Monty deserved better from me. I refuse to work with anyone non-family. Lucy was sounding peeved now, and Stefan muffled a giggle. It sounded like Lucy had a major attitude problem and was used to getting his own way. You don't have a choice. In contrast, Darwin was sounding pleased with himself. I found you a good replacement. His scores are off the charts. He can handle 7 different types of magic. Stefan winked at Garrick, who was sitting on his shoulder, pleased he was being stuck up for. "Well, what does he look like then? How old is he?" "What's that got to do with anything?" Stefan looked down. His shirt was clean and pressed, and while his trousers were showing sign of wear, they still held a crease. His green and gold waistcoat was old, made for him by his mother many years before, but not a thread hung from it. "I'm clean and tidy. What more does he want?" It seemed Darwin wondered that too. "I'm not asking you to date him. He'd be your anchor. His looks have nothing to do with how well he can do his job." "I bet he's young. Still moony-eyed and power-hungry, I suppose." Stefan could almost hear Lucy's teeth grinding. But then Lucy's next words shocked him to the core. "You know what these young ones are like. They see me, feel my power, and start drooling. They're useless in the field, too busy flirting and just getting in my way. Why do you think I insist on working with family members only?" What a cheek. Stefan wasn't sure he wanted the job anymore. The money he'd been offered would have put a roof over his head, and a hot meal would have been nice. But no. Anyone who had their head so far up their arse they believed everyone would fall over it, Stefan didn't need that shit in his life. He'd been there, done that, and paid a really steep price for his stupidity. Gathering his bag for real this time, and yes, Stefan knew how pathetic it was that all his worldly goods fit in one large carpet bag, he patted Garrick's feathers. "Come on, old boy. We know when we're not wanted." Garrick cawed his assent, his feathers ruffling as he settled more securely. Stefan glanced back as the office door opened and Darwin poked his head out. "You're leaving? Please don't go." "I'm sure your friend Lucy," pitched his voice purposely loud enough so I could hear just how badly he doesn't want me as an anchor. Stefan raised his voice as well. He should count himself lucky. Someone with my skills happened to be free at the moment and was willing to work on short notice. But heaven forbid I might catch sight of him and fall into a drooling mess at his feet. Honestly, I have better things to do. "See what you've done? He was the best applicant by far," Darwin called over his shoulder. Coming into the waiting room, which really was a nice space, he said more softly, "I can't apologise enough for my brother. Unfortunately, as the eldest and most powerful in our lot, he gets ideas above his station sometimes. He can't help it. People have seen him as a sex symbol for so long he can't see past his own press. What his fans don't know is that he's only appealing when he keeps his mouth shut. Can I at least take you out for a hot meal for your trouble? My treat." Oh, wow, a hot meal. Stefan was hardly going to turn that down, but he also had a kind heart which shouted louder than his empty belly. "You mentioned you're not getting a lot of time to spend with your mate," he said hesitantly. "I don't want to intrude on that." "Which just goes to show you've got a lot more of consideration than my pig-headed brother. A pig-headed brother who won't be allowed to work his cases because he doesn't have an anchor," Darwin said loudly. Softening his voice when Darwin turned his attention back to Stefan, he added, "He'll come around. Lucy's just not good with changes. I'll contact Monty. He'll be happy to join us, and unlike my brother, he's a pleasant wielder of the magic sword. Come on, we'll leave my brother to stew in his own unpleasantness. Do you like roast beef? I know a great place." "I love it." Stefan fell into step beside him. It'd be nice to have pleasant company with the meal. He didn't see the point in mentioning the meal was the most important part of the deal. He'd sit with Satan himself if the man was paying the bill. He was that hungry. "Sit and stew, Lucy," Darwin called out as he held the door open for Stefan. "I'll come and see you tomorrow. Maybe you'll be in a better mood. Remember, don't use any magic." "My name's not Lucy," came the roar from the inner office. "It's Lucifer." "Yeah, he sounds like a right charmer," Stefan whispered, and the two men chuckled as they headed into the street. Lucifer scowled as he heard the outer office door close. Tapping his pen furiously on the oak desk, he eyed the offending letter that had arrived the day before. "Dear Lucifer Fireborn, we have received notification that your brother, Darwin Fireborn, has claimed his mate, Monty Duncan. In accordance with the rites and rituals required to be followed by all wielders of the magic sword, it is your duty to inform this office within 48 hours of the name and rank of your new anchor. Please note, in accordance with these same rules, you will no longer be able to work in your capacity as a magical steward until you have an anchor secured. We remain yours, blah, blah, blah." Lucifer knew every word by heart. His bloody brother just had to go and allow himself to be claimed by Monty Duncan, no less. Second-rate, goody-two-shoes magic wielder who believes his services should only be used to improve the well-being of society. Monty didn't use his powers for anything more than searching for lost kittens. And my brother's got to fucking anchor him now while he does it. Such a waste of talent, and all because of the mating curse. Still grumbling to himself, Lucifer got out of his chair, standing to the side of the window so he could see who his brother thought was worthy enough to anchor him. From his 3-story distance, Lucifer could just make out his brother as he and his companion crossed the road. The man was wearing a hat, obscuring his features, but Lucifer caught a glimpse of white blonde hair and full red lips. "The scenery's nice," he admitted to himself, when he's walking away. As Lucifer watched, a huge black raven flew down and settled on the man's shoulder. Lucifer turned away in disgust. If there was one thing on the long list of things he couldn't stand, it was a magic user who took exotic familiars just to make themselves look cool and mysterious. The poor birds probably rented by the hour. Sitting down, Lucifer's frown deepened as his computer dinged with an incoming message. It was from one of his contacts in Egypt. Clicking on the message, Lucifer ignored the words he could see on the screen, waving his hand over it instead. "Damn it!" He cursed as a tingle shot down his arm and a spark flew from his fingers, igniting a pile of papers on his desk. When he tried to put out the flames with another dose of magic, the flames got hotter, and then to add insult to injury, the sprinkler system came on. Lucifer's glower intensified as water dripped off his hair and down his nose. Eyes narrowed, he read the revealed message on the screen. Technic has been located in Cairo. You and Darwin need to be here like yesterday. Lucifer banged his head on the desk. Shh, I have to get a damn anchor.